one of the things you're so knowledgeable in is sports.
Yes. I grew up and I was like, oh, that's real cool. I want to be like a goalie one day.
I feel like all I know from being a goalie or a hockey, it's either Jason,
Yeah.
the horror film.
Yeah.
Or I feel like wasn't there a character in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? What is currently going on in the world of sports? Any sport that is a must-know or must-discuss topic.
We just had the Super Bowl, which was pretty interesting.
A 2024 study in the National Library of Medicine found that transgender athletes who face social discrimination and inequality, particularly in sports participation, results in mental health, psychological distress, and emotional issues that often lead to higher rates of suicide.
Any advantage that you think they might get, it almost gets, erased just because they have all of these other obstacles, to face.
That is a very good point. Look
Yes.
at you. I
Thank
knew,
you.
I told you were thoughtful.
Thank you.
Our dear leader signing, executive orders, one being that there are only two genders.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his wife is standing behind him, getting her non-binary fashion on.
Yeah, I know.
It is Black History.
Yes.
Let's celebrate some Black athletes.
Okay.
Simone Biles. She is the most decorated gymnast in history. Now, did you yourself play a sport?
Not really like competitively.
You suck.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is the Junk and Jam Experience, the broadcast and podcast that celebrates the incredible journeys, stories, and lives of those who are dedicated to bringing joy to others. They include artists, entrepreneurs, activists, humanitarians, creators of all stripes. I'm going to throw in there civil servants who sit down with me to talk all about their impressive and diverse bodies of work. I am your host, storyteller, broadcaster, and lover of all things human, Christopher Albert de la Roa. But you could just call me Christopher Albert. I am honored to highlight the journey and talents of a producer whose show entitled Life and Whatever Else spans almost an entire decade of dynamic discussions and featured subjects in everything from politics, health, business, entertainment, and woohoo, sports. In fact, his true love for all things sports has found him on a new path and purpose of claiming his calling of being a sports commentator. We love to hear that.
Yeah.
Of which his qualifications include being a studied broadcaster, earning not just a degree in mass communications from Iona College, but also served as the department's media director. And within the world of sports, he extended his time and talents as a team member for the 2006 U.S. Open Golf Championship, as well as the sports department for WABC TV. That's Disney, y'all. I myself have been the beneficiary of his production savvy as co-producer of my 2023 short film, Cracked. His expertise has helped it to garner 5 film festival laurels. Please help me welcome our very special featured guest today, fellow producer, broadcaster, host, and commentator, Mr. Eric Rivera.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me, Eric.
That was quite the intro, because you really found out some stuff about me.
I said it to Edwin, my husband, for those of you listening, watching. I said to him the other day, I'm like, I love Eric, no homo. But sometimes, and you're not the only one, right?
Uh-huh.
People don't know how to sell themselves. So I'm like, you know what? It's my job to sell them.
I appreciate you selling me, because sometimes it can be a little hard.
You're nothing but a whore.
Oh, man. Wow.
Eric.
Yes.
Before going back, let's talk a little bit. You have a YouTube channel and your show, Life and Whatever Else.
Yes.
Do tell us, like, it's 9 years you've been producing it. What was your maybe initial goal to where you are now?
When I first started the channel, it was kind of just messing around. I just was like, let's see where this goes. Because like around the time that I started it, I want to say that a lot of people were starting to do like video podcasting and stuff like that. So because I didn't have like any radio equipment or anything like that at home. So I was like, how do I like do this stuff?
Yeah.
So when I found out about like MNN and everything like that, I was like, oh, they have all the stuff that I would need to be able to do this. So when I first started, the name too, Life and Whatever Else, was kind of like, well, what's the show going to be about? I was like, life and whatever else, like my life, whatever else is going on.
You're very thoughtful and you're so knowledgeable of all things.
Yeah, I try to be.
And I think you're incredibly talented.
Thank you.
And the camera loves you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
By the way, I didn't do this.
Oh, look at me. Look at me.
You're
What?
wearing the same thing.
I know. Look at that.
Almost.
Wait, no, it's different.
No, it's
different
different.
sweater,
It's a zipper.
but
You're wearing a
almost the
zipper
same
today.
thing. Different facial hair too, but I actually like that picture. Wow, look at me.
One of the things you're so knowledgeable in is sports.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about when your love for sports began.
So the funny thing about my love for sports is that it really started a little later in life, because when I was growing up, I really did not watch a lot of sports. I kind of watched like major events. Like I would watch like when the Knicks were in the playoffs or when the Rangers, like in 1994, the New York Knicks and the Rangers both went to the finals, in their sports. And so that was kind of like the first, like I had known about it, but that was like the first year where I really paid attention to a lot. I was already like, 7 years old at the time. So I kind of was a late bloomer, I guess. Like I really didn't grow up with a lot of people around me, like diehard sports fans or anything like that. So I had to kind of discover things as we went along. So I think like as I got older, through the years, me trying to discover new things that I had never really known before, like really, how do I say, like piqued my interest, I guess. Yeah. And so things kind of just went from there through the years, and like it's just become a passion of mine.
A passion.
Yes.
I know you love basketball and wrestling.
Yeah. Wrestling was probably, I know a lot of people say, oh, it's fake and everything like that. But if we were actually to pick out like...
they're athletes.
Yes, they are. And if I were to pick out like the first thing that I was a fan of, it would probably be wrestling. That's probably what I grew up watching the most. But then, I probably picked up, the next thing that I picked up as like and it became a real diehard fan of, I would probably say was basketball. Basketball and hockey were like the two at the time. Like hockey I became a fan of because I always loved the goalie mask that the goalies would wear, because they had like cool designs on them and everything like that. So I grew up and I was like, oh, that's real cool. I want to be like a goalie one day.
I feel like all I know from being a goalie or a hockey, it's either Jason.
Yeah.
The horror film.
Yeah.
Or I feel like wasn't there a character in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles who wore like a hockey mask? Or is that?
There was Shredder. Did Shredder wear a hockey mask?
No, Shredder.
Not Shredder.
Shredder wore
Not Shredder.
Fabulous shoulder pads with spikes on them.
Yeah.
There was. We're gonna have to look into that.
There probably was. The original mask that the goalies wore were like the Jason mask. And then eventually they evolved into like really fancy like designs and everything like that. And so
glow in the dark.
Yeah. They were really fancy. Maybe not glow in the dark, but like they were really fancy and like really cool. But so it was hockey and like basketball, and then eventually like came baseball and football.
What is the need or necessity for having like fancy sports gear on your players, right? It could be the jerseys, what they're playing with.
I think a lot of it now is a lot of companies, like they obviously see revenue in it. Like if an athlete's wearing like a fancy jersey or a fancy design or something like that, then everybody's going to want to buy it.
Yeah.
We see it with the Jordan sneakers all the time, right. Like people getting in line wanting to get them. But another thing we see a lot of is like retro jerseys.
I remember as a kid,
Uh-huh.
and there was just one random going back to school semester that my mother had some money.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I get new clothes for school this year.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
And today I'm wearing a wind shirt,
Uh-huh.
but I think it was a pullover. It was a
Yeah.
starter
Oh, okay.
jacket. And I think it was like a hockey team or something.
Okay.
Because I loved, and I don't remember. I don't know if it was Sharks or something. Is it Sharks?
There is a Sharks hockey
And
team.
I also loved the colors, so I also got like the hats for the basketball team,
Yeah.
the Charlotte Hornets, because I just
Yeah.
love like the colors. But
That's
where my knowledge of sports ended.
yeah, and that's like something that helps like bridge the gap between people who wouldn't normally be sports fans and, you know, and people involved in sports is like there might be people who are involved in fashion who are like, oh, well, I don't really watch sports, but then they'll see a fancy design or
Yeah.
something like that and be like, wow, that's really nice.
One part of the business of sports is the broadcasting of it.
Yes.
You studied communications is it Iona College or Iona University?
So
Or have they changed?
It was Iona College when I was there. It's now Iona University.
They waited till after you left to upgrade
Yeah,
it.
still after I left. Yeah.
You should just call it university now.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know why I said college before, but I guess it's a little confusing for people who were there when it was a college.
Is this a college or a university?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what is communications? Like, what was your interest?
So my interest was always like TV and video, basically. That's like what I got into it for. Like that's what I studied when I was there. Like there were other areas, obviously. There's like PR and there's radio, marketing, all that stuff. I was TV and video.
Yeah.
And, you know, the funny thing about TV and video is that and we always used to joke about it over there because it was a relatively small department, is that it always feels like the outcasts.
The dorks in the radio station and
Not
the
even
TV
really
studio.
There were some. There were some.
I mean, I was one of them. But.
There's always some, but I would say it was more just the people who were like, well, I don't really know what I want to do, so they ended up
I just want to touch buttons, man, for now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Or they didn't want to do something harder, so they were like, oh, I'll just do like mass communications. And then,
until they learned the production part of it.
Yeah,
it's
they
work.
would realize that it's hard, it's not easy. But we were like in this department, and like we were like one of the furthest buildings, because like you have the main campus, and then our building was like off to the side across the street, and we were like in the top floor. So we were like considered like the outcasts. Like people would come up to that department for something, and they'd be like, man, you guys are all crazy up here. And we were kind of crazy at the time, actually.
Well, everyone's a little crazy.
Everybody.
Now, did you yourself play a sport?
Not really like competitively, but like I've done everything for fun, basically.
Yeah.
Whether it was like in school, like intramurals, or just with friends, or like, you know, out and about in the park or whatever. So
You suck.
yeah, pretty much. It was
I used to wear boots
Mm-hmm.
to gym class on purpose.
Oh man.
So I couldn't participate. Oh, I can't participate. Oh no, I left my sneakers at home.
I wasn't one of those types. I was the one who I think if I committed myself more to it, I think I could have been, you know, decent. Not like any major athlete or anything like that. But I think if I had committed myself more, I could have actually done it.
I mean, that's any craft, right?
Because exactly.
You got to log in your 10,000 hours.
Exactly. Because I could say I did. I almost forgot this. This is like really important. I did run indoor track when I was in high school, because mainly the reason I did indoor track was because I would look for something to do in the wintertime because I just didn't want to go home right away.
Yeah.
So indoor track was like the only sport you didn't have to actually try out for. You just kind of showed up. Like I just did this for an activity, not really to like be great at it.
I love it. Your mother has to be so proud of you. What?
She is, yeah.
Well, I mean, I would be. You're You're a good guy.
I also did Taekwondo.
Oh,
I also
that
did
was
Taekwondo.
expensive.
Yeah.
For mom.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what sucks about it? I have one real regret about my time doing Taekwondo is that I never went after my black belt. I got to like the level right before black belt, at least in the school.
Which is what? Yellow.
At the school I was at, because they're like different schools.
Blue.
I was a double black stripe, which was like
Oh.
red belt with two black stripes, and then you go for your black belt.
Sounds like New York Fashion Week.
Yeah, a lot of my friends kind of dropped out, went elsewhere, and so they would tell me, they'd be like, "Hey, like you're kind of advanced for like the kids classes or whatever, so you should take the adult classes." So then I got bored taking the adult classes because I was like,
There's nowhere to grow.
It was more like I liked the people that I was around, like, you know, people that are around my age that were friendly. I was taking classes with people who were like, you know, 10, 15 years older than me. And so there were times where like I had to like slow down for them, or I was like,
"Come here, Sonny."
yeah, not that old.
I know.
But like eventually like I just kind of like dropped out of it because I was like, I didn't really want to do it. Like I would go there and just kind of spend my time doing something else other than class. And so I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I regret I regret not getting my black belt. I really do.
From your point of view, what is and what makes a good sports commentator?
I think somebody that just doesn't take away from the game and make it about themselves. And I'm like, it's not about you. Like, if you have an opinion about the game, that's fine or whatever. But, you know, don't make everything about yourself.
We want to know the cold, hard facts of the data of this game.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the business of it. You know, let's get someone maybe who's not a great sports commentator, but a great personality.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who I think are trying to make themselves a name as opposed to kind of adding to what you're watching.
You're not being additive to the experience. Okay, so who are some sports commentators that inspire you, that provides spectators comprehension and brings levity to the sports they're commenting on?
There's never been anybody that's really like caught my eye, like, wow, like I need to listen to this person.
Yeah.
But I know from watching a lot of like local games, like a lot of the local teams, like I just enjoy the people who always like provide you with a little bit of knowledge, basically, that just tell you, hey, like that's
what you signed up for.
Yeah. Like this play happened. This is why it happened. This is, you know, the gist of it. So you understand why, you know, like one of my favorite things, and I always say this, is when I'm watching a sporting event and somebody, like, let's say they go to a commercial break or whatever, let's say it's baseball, between innings, go to commercial break, and they come back and they give you a detailed explanation of why something happened on a play. Because I feel like too often people, like especially on TV, because you don't have access to like every angle or whatever, so you don't see everything that happens. A lot of people try to speculate like, oh, this person wasn't running hard, or this person, you know, wasn't paying attention or whatever. And they'll explain, no, this person had to hold up because they had to watch to make sure that the ball wasn't going to be caught before they ran. Yeah. So then when they ran, you know, that's why they were thrown out at the plate, because, you know, they had to stop for that split second. So they explain that to you. And I always appreciate, like, those things are things that I appreciate. So I don't really look for like one particular person, but I look for things in a broadcast that like really stand out to me.
That resonate with you. It sounds like, though, to me, you got this calling for really giving detailed about how a sport is played or how a game is played and who the athletes played in that game and how they played and why they play, and the business of it is because you feel like it's been something missing for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You can be inspired by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day I'm inspired by myself.
Show's over. Okay, so
That's it.
what is currently going on in the world of sports? Any sport that is a must-know or must-discuss topic.
We just had the Super Bowl, which was pretty interesting because the Kansas City Chiefs were going for 3 championships in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It hadn't been done in a long time. And
Which is still an impressive feat.
just to get to a championship game,
Yeah.
3 years in a row and everything like that, that's big,
Yeah.
It's funny, it's kind of a dead time in like the sports calendar right now because between the Super Bowl and like when the NCAA tournament happens, it's kind of like a dead period.
I know something happened recently in the NBA world.
The All-Star game happened on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yes, it was a mess. It was a mess, actually. I don't know if that's what you heard. Like, there's a lot of talk about All-Star games in general and whether they're really that appealing nowadays because, like, people have so much access to every game,
Whatever,
every star. We see everybody play
Stream
each
it.
other. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like, and it's not like back in the day where like you would only have you would have your team and then maybe a couple national games. You could see everybody you want. So like there's no real appeal to it. So the NBA is kind of the NBA and the NHL actually have like their all-star breaks now. And like the NHL tried something different where they have like this 4 nations face off where like 4 countries, US, Canada, Sweden, Finland, play each other in a like mini tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's a change from the normal all-star format. And the NBA tried something different where they had like a tournament between all-star players and young players. And
Yeah, it
was a
already
mess.
sounds like I don't care.
it was a mess. The dunk contest was a mess. Everything. I don't want to bore you with the...
Yeah. I think you have a great talent for speaking to those who are a fan of sports and those who don't even know they're interested or might have, somewhere in that Venn diagram can find some interest.
I like talking to people who get interested in something. Like sometimes I hate when people ask me a question and then I feel like it's in one ear, out the other. Like as soon as you say it, they're like, whatever.
I really hope that wasn't an accusation you just threw at me.
No, not at all.
Okay, so my next question, actually is going to be a long-winded statement.
Okay, let me get ready.
We are living in the world. I am queer.
Yes, let me have a little
Have a little sip of water. We're going to have a sip of water. Is it ASMR? What is it?
Yes,
Hi, this is me sipping on a cup, sipping on some water.
I love those because it's like you have to make the slurping sound because if you don't, it's
What's the point?
What's the point?
One sports issue of the day that I feel resonates with me, according to educationnorthcarolina.org, I believe, sports provides significant physical, emotional, and social advantages for vulnerable youth. That includes transgender adolescents. Sports can help transgender students overcome feelings of isolation and allow them to develop positive self-images. That's sports for anyone, right? A 2024 study in the National Library of Medicine found that transgender athletes who face social discrimination and inequality, particularly in sports participation, results in mental health, psychological distress, and emotional issues that often lead to higher rates of suicide. The Human Rights Campaign has stated there has been considerable amount of disinformation and misinformation about what the inclusion of transgender athletes means and what that means in sports. Many states and athletic organizations have for years already found success in balanced fairness, inclusion of trans athletes, and access to play without any problems. According to the BBC, the debate centers around the balance of inclusion, sporting fairness and safety in women's sports, which I find fair, right? That's a fair concern. Essentially, whether trans women can compete in female categories without their biological sex giving them an unfair advantage or presenting a threat or injury to others in competition.
Yeah.
Scientific review by E Alliance states that the available scientific evidence shows that trans women who have undergone testosterone suppression have no clear biological advantage over cis women in elite sports, and advises that any policy developed around transgender athletes should carefully consider there already is a lack of participation of trans athletes anyway. According to the HRC, legislators have repeatedly been unable to justify the need for certain laws that ban their inclusion and admit that very few transgender youth even play. Right? Can you explain, in your expertise, what is the history of the necessity of having sports separated by gender? I mean, because you watch sports, right? I'm presuming mostly male sports.
I watch probably more women's sports now. Not more than
WNBA is rocking.
Yeah. It's also more accessible than it's like ever been.
Right.
They show it a lot more on TV than it used to be. Like even volleyball, like they show a lot of women's volleyball now. So, that's a good question. I think it just kind of became the standard for a lot. Like I don't think back in the day there was a lot of like intergender sports or anything like that. Like, people did it for fun, but like it's just always been kind of the way that it's been, like male versus female. I mean, you've seen
unless you're in high school.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a little kid too, because like I feel like sports when you're a little kid are not really broken. Because I didn't really play sports as like a little kid, so everything that I've seen, like I've seen girls play, with boys when they're little kids and everything like that. And then like I guess just as people get older, they kind of I guess the thought process is that as your body matures, like we have to start like separating the genders and everything like that. And it's weird because like for me personally, like I've never like clamored to see men versus women. Like it's never been like it's
out of my way.
It's like never been, but it's like for me, like that could be taken two ways because sometimes like people will say, oh, I don't want to see men versus women because men are superior. For me, it's like I know that a woman could compete like with a man. Like, yeah, maybe, some women can't or whatever, depending on the level of athlete or whatever
but that's
experience.
The same in male-only sports, right?
Yeah.
You put boxers in certain levels.
There are people who
size.
There are people who are good. There are people who are bad. There are people who physically can't match up with other people. Like in combat sports, that's why there are weight classes. Because if you just had like a heavyweight boxer face a guy who weighs 140 pounds, I mean that might not end well. So that happens everywhere. So I probably should do some more research on that.
I just wanted to know, I'm not here to throw you under the bus. I just thought I would ask, could having transgender-only sports appease people on both ends? Even though there's no real transgender athletes, like, there's not many.
Yeah, there's not that many. Like, even the NCAA, like, they came out with something that said, I think, there was only like 10 transgender athletes. The number's not there, I guess, to have transgender only.
Yeah, they're right.
Sports.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's my thing. And like, maybe I'm going to go on a rant here, but that's my thing when people want to ban transgender women from women's sports, because it's like, there aren't that many of them. So for one, it's not like you're overrun. Like everybody always tries to present this image like, oh my God, we're being overrun by these transgender women, like or transgender athletes, because nowadays there are only two genders. But they always make this case that, oh my God, we're being overrun.
You're
and
also
everything.
supposed to only have one wife.
Yeah, yeah. But like they always make this case that we're being overrun by transgender athletes. And I'm like, where? Like where are they? Because here's another thing, and I'll say this much. Who's to say that there aren't transgender athletes that we don't even necessarily know about?
That is right. And it's nobody's business.
It's nobody's business.
You know, so, they have, I guess they have doctors, you know, for specific, just to serve athletes who give them the clear to play. Yeah. Doctors know best. And this is not an issue that any doctor has raised, then, to my knowledge. Yeah, I mean, this is an unfair advantage.
Yeah, the only sport.
I'm presuming that the doctor knows testosterone levels.
Yeah, the only sport that I would say that, at least in my opinion, that it would be a big issue could be combat sports. But like you'd have to establish an actual standard of what is considered, and you'd have to get a bunch of doctors, not just doctors who are like, we have to get rid of transgender athletes.
When we talk about classes and weight, it's based on body type. Yeah. The end. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen photos of at Inauguration Day this past year. Some photos. Our dear leader signing, you know, executive orders, one being that there are only two genders. Yeah. Meanwhile, his wife is standing behind him getting her non-binary fashion on. Yeah,
I know.
She was leaning in to her non-binary look.
Yep, she was. She really was.
Give me a fucking break. While the issue and science of biological gender as an advantage or disadvantage in sports is still being debated, there are scientific studies that have shown that there are proven advantages to being left-handed. According to Orthopedic Specialty Group, have you heard this? Left-handed athletes have an advantage in sports that involve aiming something towards an opponent. So, you know, whether it's baseball,
that's
tennis,
interesting.
Contact sports such as boxing, presumably basketball. Does that mean they should also ban left-handed
Yeah, probably.
people from playing sports with their peers? I mean, why not?
If
we're going by the standard.
If anybody's going to have some type of advantage, then we got to get rid of them. All right-handers, that's it. No more left-handers in sports. But yeah, I guess based on, you know, what people are saying, if somebody has an advantage.
If there was no Special Olympics available, and you brought up the word earlier, which is access, right? If there was no access to Special Olympics, we probably wouldn't see different abled athletes playing. So I'm wondering if there was an option for transgender athletes to play in a league of their own.
A league of their own.
I wonder if that would open the door to more trans athletes becoming interested in sports.
You know, it could. I absolutely think it could.
I'm not for segregation, by the way.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I'm the same. This idea that transgender athletes have like this huge advantage and we got to get rid of them and everything, that's not true. So it's like we're making this push to ban them when it's like in reality they just want the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? They just want the opportunity to play or do the thing that they like.
That they love, enjoy. It brings them joy. It brings other people joy. It's sports. It's inspiring.
Yeah, and like if you look at it, like especially like if you look at like swimming, for example, like Katie Ledecky is one of the best swimmers of all time and everything like that. She's not transgender. Like she's a woman. Like they're Period. Like, we're not being overrun. It's not like all of a sudden, people, like they always, just in general, I might be ranting here, but people will always make this case that like people will transition just because it gives them an advantage or anything like that. And I'm like, do you know how hard a life people who go through that have to live?
Yeah,
Like in
it's-
terms of like just being accepted by society in general. Forget being an athlete. It is ridiculously hard to live that life. And so this idea that people just
to live in your authentic truth
yeah.
as to who you are, because we've made it. The system is designed to have made it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is really hard. So any advantage that you think they might get, it almost gets, erased just because they have all of these other obstacles, to face.
That is a very good point. Look
Yes.
at you. I
Thank
knew.
you.
I told you were thoughtful.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have to take a break.
Okay.
It is easy to join the movement in standing in support of trans powerlifters. The International Powerlifting Federation and USA Powerlifting has policies that prohibit all female transgender powerlifters and male transgender athletes from competition based on a flawed understanding of competitive advantage. It is discriminatory, and it's in violation to the International Olympic Committee consensus that transgender athletes who meet specified criteria are in fact eligible to compete. Access to sports is a human right. When our transgender neighbors are systematically excluded from sports, they are denied an essential component of their physical, mental, and emotional well-being, as well as a community they are part of. Please consider adding your name to the athleteally.org petition that encourages the IPF and USAPL to reconsider their positions. I did. You should too. Welcome back. I am joined with producer, broadcaster, host,
Yeah.
sports commentator.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
That's how you get Eric Rivera.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. I'm here.
A beautiful human as well.
Thank you.
It is Black History.
Yes.
Let's celebrate some Black athletes.
Okay.
Simone Biles, an artist, gymnast. She has already won 37 Olympic and World Championship medals. She is the most decorated gymnast in history. She won the 2024 U.S. National Gymnastics Championships all-around competition, becoming the first gymnast to win the title 9 times.
That's impressive.
And the oldest.
Yeah.
And she's only 27.
I know. It's crazy.
Are you a fan of gymnastics?
Yeah, I mean, I watch it every 4 years when the Olympics comes on.
Yeah.
But then, I'll follow it, a little bit. Because like I was telling you before, how things are more accessible now. They show some gymnastics meets now on TV.
So what happens to Simone Biles now? Does she become a sports commentator?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because, in gymnastics, you have a short shelf life.
We also have a Golden State Warriors point guard, Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, yes.
Also son of former NBA player Del Curry. He is a 4-time NBA champion, a 2-time NBA most valuable player, 2-time gold medalist, considered one of the greatest shooters of all time, known for his long-range shooting, as well as considered one of the greatest. Did I already say that? I already said it. I'm saying it twice. Considered one of the greatest shooters of all time, particularly three-point shoots. He's also good at golf.
Yes.
And played a major role in resurrecting Howard University's golf team. The GOAT.
Yes. He's up there. He's up there. He may not be like the actual GOAT, but he's really To be honest with you, there is not one because it's so subjective. But he is definitely one of the most influential people.
Speaking of, so for someone who doesn't know, what has he done in terms of like bringing more prominence to long range shooting in the NBA?
Well, he's basically taken it to the point where like everybody wants to copy like his type of game.
Yeah.
Because is so good. Like, he's so good at making such a wide variety of shots. Like, most people, when they shoot 3-point shots, normally they'll have like a favorite spot on the court. It'll be like, oh, they're really good in the corner. They're really good at the top of the key. They like shooting at the elbow. These are all sports terms. I'm sorry. You can look them up, everything like that. But people will have like different spots that they like shooting at. Curry, though, shoots anywhere. And it's crazy to see, because when he came into the league, like, a lot of people were kind of doubting like if he could actually be a star, because he wasn't the biggest guy.
Well, funnily enough, he is still like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, that's funny, which is still small
when you see him
in
in person, you're like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
But next to other NBA players,
He's short. Yeah. I mean,
he was still built for the game.
Yeah. And I will say one thing. I have stood next to like some NBA players at times, like really tall ones. Yeah. I don't know if you know Kristaps Porzingis. Mm-mm. Well, he played for the Knicks for a while. He's like 7'2".
Oh my.
7'3", something like that. I walked right past him on the street one time, and all I could think about was, how would I like shoot over this guy? Like, if he was guarding me, like, how do I shoot over him? He's so tall.
All I want to think about is like, how do I hug you? I'm gonna hug you. Lift me.
Yeah.
Pick me up.
So I walked past him, and like, going back to Curry, when you think about how tall NBA players are, to be able to shoot over them, like when they're guarding you and they have a hand in your face.
Yeah.
And when they have a hand up like this, they're almost like 10 feet tall, basically.
Right, because it's height plus arm length.
So he has to shoot almost like over a 10-foot. Like, imagine there was a 10-foot wall in front of you and you had to shoot over it. Like, that's what he does.
It's coming right back and smacking me in the forehead.
Not for him, though. It's going through the hoop.
Yo soy boricua. Well, Nuyoriqueño.
Yeah.
You as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to celebrate our Black Puerto Rican athletes.
Of course.
Major League Baseball player Roberto Clemente drove 3,000 hits. You're going to have to explain to me what that means. 240 home runs, battled in 1,305 runs. He led the Pittsburgh Pirates to 2 World Series title. Very impressive, right?
Yeah.
He participated in 15 All-Star games, won 4 batting championships, was a National League MVP in 1966, and received 12 Golden Gloves for his extraordinary defensive quality as an outfielder. And 2 questions. What does driving 3,000 hits mean? And what is an outfielder? So real quick, simple.
So 3,000 hits, basically, when you take the bat up to the plate and you hit the ball.
Oh, wow.
And
yes.
nobody catches it. That's a hit. That's a hit.
That's great.
So you got 3,000 of them. And then what was the other one? Outfielder?
Because to me, it's 12 Golden Gloves sounds like something you get for boxing.
Yeah, it does. There's the Golden Gloves tournament. That's just defense. Like when you're out in the field,
outfielder,
and they hit the ball.
So he's good at hitting and catching.
Basically, he's good. Everything you just said,
he was great.
Basically says he's a great player.
So there are 12 statues of Roberto Clemente today in the world. 6 of them are in Puerto Rico. 5 are in the United States. 1 is actually right here in the Bronx.
That's a
and
fact.
There's another one in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, in 1972, there was an earthquake that struck the capital of Nicaragua. He boarded a plane loaded with humanitarian aid for the victims and never made it out. He died a hero, like a humanitarian.
Yep. Life was cut short.
His life story was once banned in Florida schools and libraries because his story includes his experiences of discrimination and racism. Okay, sorry. We're back.
We're back. Okay.
Track and field athlete. We're going to celebrate a Black Puerto Rican athlete named Jasmine Camacho-Quinn at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics not too long ago. She became the first Puerto Riqueño of Afro-Latina descent and the second person representing Puerto Rico to win a gold medal. Her personal best and Olympic record of 12.26 seconds is tied for the 10th fastest time in history. Do you know anything about what that means? Her personal best being 12.26 records. Is that like on track?
Yeah. It's fast.
She won a bronze medal at the 2022 World Athletics Championships and a silver medal at the 2023 World Athletics Championships. In the 2024 Paris Olympics, she won a bronze medal, her second one becoming the only Puerto Rican to have won 2 Olympic medals.
Yeah. It's actually funny. 4 years ago, like there aren't a ton of like Puerto Rican athletes, and a lot of them honestly are athletes that like were born in, a lot of them were raised here in the States. And it's always interesting because every time the Olympics comes up, I'm always paying attention to the Puerto Rican flag. And I'm like, who's competing for a medal here? And I saw that she was like one of the favorites, like if not the favorite in 2020. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. So I was rooting for her then, and then I was rooting for her again in 2024.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So there is plenty of Eric Riveras out there.
Yes, there are. There are.
One of them is a football player. One of them is a comic. There is a story about an Eric Rivera I found, a chef from Raleigh, North Carolina, who was arrested in August of 2024 for charges of misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, assault on a female, and assault by strangulation.
That's not me, released. People.
That's exactly my question. That's not you, right? Now, how? Because I thought it was a fun exercise. Mm-hmm. By the way, I mean, my name would have changed because I got married. Yeah. And we smashed our names together. Mm-hmm. But I could have easily been another Christopher Rodriguez walking the streets. But how common do you think your name is, Eric Rivera?
Fairly common.
I'll tell you how. How many .ofme.com I found this is a real thing.
Okay. I want to hear this.
They're all male, by the way.
Yeah.
The average age of Eric Riveras are 63.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you're a dying breed. Almost. We don't want to kill them all.
Well, I'm on the young side, so, you know.
Most of them live in Florida.
No,
There's
not a shock.
488, at least that we know of.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, there's 484 Eric Riveras.
Okay.
In Georgia, there's 328 Eric Riveras. Wow. In Ohio, there are 289. Wow. And the least amount of Eric Riveras are right here in New York.
Really?
142.
Oh, wow. I need to find the other 141.
And do what?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. You know, it's actually funny that you bring that up. I don't know if you came across this, but there was a football player who was shot to death, actually.
Yeah, I had him as a football. I didn't get too much into the story. I don't know if
his killer, his name was Eric Rivera. So whenever, like if you Google that name, that's probably going to be one of the first options that come up. So
there's a football player named Eric Rivera, and there's a football killer named Eric Rivera.
Well, I don't know. Is there a football player with?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but the football player was Sean Taylor, who got killed. He was kind of a known player. He was at his house.
You must live in shame.
I know. So he was at his house and got shot and got killed, and so the killer, his name is Eric Rivera, so not proud of him.
You are a lover of sporting venues.
Yes, I am.
Real quickly, stadiums versus arenas, what's the difference?
Stadiums are one bigger, and they tend to be open air, so, you know, basically they don't have a roof. Yeah. And then arenas tend to be smaller, and, you know, they have roofs and...
Yeah. So this has inspired me to come up with a little game.
Okay, all right.
I would like to play with you if that's okay.
Okay.
And it is called Where in the World is Eric Rivera? We put you around the country.
Okay.
At different sporting venues.
Okay.
I'm going to read off the clue about that sporting venue. And then You'll see if you know it. I'm pretty sure you'll do great at this game.
Okay, let's see. Watch me like the bed here.
Okay, we're gonna
Excuse my language.
first one.
What a picture of me. Wow.
Located in Boston, Massachusetts.
Fenway Park.
It is Fenway Park. That was pretty quick. It opened in 1912. It's been the home field of Major League Baseball Boston Red Sox, and it seats about 37,755 people.
And they've renovated it over the years, so it looks a lot nicer.
Yeah, a lot of yeah. Okay, you ready for the next
Yes.
clue?
Oh, this looks a little harder.
It's an outdoor athletic stadium,
Okay.
so it's open air.
Yes.
In the north central United States, located in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay.
The home field of the Green Bay Packers of the National Football League, and it opened in 1957 as City Stadium.
Lambeau Field.
It is a Lambeau Field. There you are.
Yes. Wow, look at my point. Wow. Look at that.
And Lambeau Field seats 81,441 people. Wow, you're really good at this.
I try to be. I try.
Originally opened in 1879 on East 26th Street and Madison Avenue, and it's been renovated and moved 3 times over. It's a multi-purpose indoor arena home to professional ice hockey, basketball, boxing, mixed martial arts, concerts, ice shows, circuses, wrestling, other forms of sports and entertainment. What is it?
Madison Square Garden.
It is Madison Square Garden. We would have also accepted MSG. I got that. That picture's for you.
Yeah.
Because I can see you going and being there, but still being like, what am I doing here?
That's why, yeah. I'm not the biggest WWE fan, to be honest, so I probably would have that, look like, why am I here?
It is the oldest major sporting facility in the New York area, and it is the oldest arena in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And it seats 19,500. We're doing good. You're doing great.
Yes.
Next clue.
Look at that picture. Wow.
First opened in 1914, it's a ballpark on the north side of Chicago, Illinois, home to Major League Baseball's team that won their first home game at the park in 1916. And it's home to one of the city's 2 MLB franchises.
Wrigley Field.
It is Wrigley Field. Obviously, that's the Chicago Cubs.
Yep.
It was named Cubs Park from 1920 to 1926 before being renamed Wrigley Field in 1927 because the chewing gum magnate William Wrigley Jr. of the Wrigley Company acquired the Cubs in 1921. And it seats 41,649.
One of my favorites, actually.
Yeah?
I would like to go there one day, but every time I've seen it like on TV, I love it.
Well, now you can imagine yourself there.
Look at me. Oh, that's a funny picture. Wow.
Okay, last clue.
Okay.
Opened in 1975.
Okay.
It's a multi-purpose stadium in New Orleans, Louisiana, hosted 8 Super Bowls and 6 NCAA championships in men's college basketball. It is the home stadium of New Orleans Saints of the National Football League, and it's domed.
Yes. So the Superdome, but it has like they've had like a bunch of different sponsorship names, so I forget what it is now.
So it is currently named the Caesars Superdome,
The Caesars.
originally the Louisiana Superdome, and formerly the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It is the largest fixed dome structure in the world. In 2005, it was used to house thousands of people seeking shelter from Hurricane Katrina. And it has the largest capacity, I think, of all of the ones we talked about so far. 83,000.
Yeah. And that's where the Super Bowl was played this year.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
That's how much I paid attention.
Yep, that's where the Super Bowl was.
Oh, look, you could see Taylor Swift.
Am I required to boo her or whatever?
Oh, are we booing her?
No.
I thought that was rude.
I thought it was rude too. She don't do nothing.
She was just there to show support.
I know. Weird. I don't understand why people dislike.
I mean, this over hyper masculine energy is not the flex. I don't think that people think it is.
Agreed. I would agree with you on that.
I mean, it's Taylor Swift.
I know.
I mean, that used to be my argument. Is like, if you're a grown man and you're worried about clothes I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm not worried about what you're wearing.
Uh-huh.
If you're a man, why are you worried about what another man is wearing?
Never understood it.
Unless you're interested.
Yeah.
Either in me or my clothes.
Yeah. Maybe both in some cases.
You're a little jealous. You want to wear my tight jeans.
Yep.
Good luck getting them off because I could hardly get in them.
It's crazy out there.
Eric, thank you so very much. I know we could find you on YouTube, Life and whatever else.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If it's okay with you.
Yes.
You recently lost a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any words of advice or soothing words to offer someone else comfort, whatever that may be, who may be dealing with grief and perhaps are finding it a challenge?
I would say, like, remember the good times. Like, always, you don't want to get sad about anything. So always remember the good times that you had with that person, and understand that it's not wrong to kind of struggle with losing someone. Mm-hmm. Don't think that, if you get sad suddenly or something like that, that there's something wrong with you. Or, if you don't want to show, if you're trying to hold back, like, being emotional in public or whatever, or anything like that, like, just understand that, like, sadness will come and it happens and everything like that. And, as time goes on, it kind of gets a little better. Not great, but, like, don't think that what's happening to you is wrong by any means. Like, it's just how we react to losing somebody.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And by the way, if you are struggling and if you are finding it, that much of a struggle that it goes beyond grief, you can call or text the crisis helpline. We'll get that up too. Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much, Eric.
Thank you for having me. It was great being here.